Alrighty. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of the Uprise podcast. This is going to be our pregame show. Now, we're not going to do a pregame show before every game, but since our podcast falls before a game, it's basically like a pregame show. So, Eric isn't here right now. Eric will actually be on in about 20 minutes. He's going to give me a call. It might be a little bit before 20 minutes. And we're going to have like some what is it? Spread picks. We're gonna have spread picks. We're gonna keep a running total throughout the season, and I'm gonna have him give me some how do you say it? See, I don't know betting language, but it'll be stuff like Dallas is favored by 8 over who. Who are you taking? And I'll make picks based off of that. We actually got a couple of different things to talk about before we get into the meat of this show, which is obviously going to be previewing the game tonight. There's also likely to be background noise, so just ignore that. What's up, Tyron? What's up, Darren? Alrighty, so I want to talk about opening night last night first. Had two games last night. You had Toronto struggling with the Pelicans, and then you had the battle for LA. I caught more of the second game. Didn't really catch much of the first game. I had rec league, so first game not much for me to talk about because I didn't watch it. It looked like Toronto struggled. Pelicans look good without Zion. Zion is out for 6 to 8 weeks with a torn meniscus. What's up, iTooth? What's up, Nikos Kodakris? Yeah, so I was a bit surprised that first game went into overtime. I thought Toronto would run away with that game. Second game, I was a bit surprised that the Clippers took care of business without the Lakers, but I think the Lakers are a bit overrated. I thought that was the case before we went into the season, but watching them last night, I realized they only have two people that can create their own shot. Most contenders have multiple guys that can create their own shot, and they only have two. They have to rely so heavily on LeBron and AD to create everything, but Anthony Davis isn't a guy who's going to be creating for others. Anthony Davis is more of a create for himself type of guy, so they were heavily posting up Anthony Davis, constantly running through the post with him, and it just didn't seem like a good game plan. It just didn't seem like a good I don't know, man. They just didn't impress me. LeBron's going to have to do too much in terms of creating for himself and others. He's 35 years old now. They just didn't seem like the threat that the media and a lot of fans are hyping them up to be. Now, it remains to be seen how they handle other teams, but the Clippers looked really good. That's just a team that hustles, plays defense, and then they have their elite scorer now, so I really like that team, just the way they fit. Mo did get off the bench last night. Yes, he did. That's the thing. Mo off the bench is a little bit better than Mo as a starter because he is kind of an energy guy, even though his energy is a bit inconsistent. His defense was phenomenal. I think he had 4 steals, 2 blocks. And then he hit a couple threes. His shot looked better. I don't know if you guys agree, but Mo's shot looked a lot better. It looked a lot quicker. It looked a lot faster. It also looked smoother. It was just a more of a one motion release instead of kind of a bring it up to the top of a set point, pause here for a second, and then shoot. Let me know if you guys thought Harkless's form looked a bit better because I thought it did. Portland will sweep Lakers during the regular season. I sure hope so. Did LeBron look rusty? I mean, he was just missing shots. I mean, LeBron's gonna have nights where he's 6 for 17. Or I'll look up that stat right now. I'll look up what he shot right now. But LeBron's gonna have nights where he's not gonna be able to hit a lot of shots because he's human. When he isn't able to hit shots, that team is really going to struggle. That team could lose to anybody. Danny Green had one of the best games of his life. Danny Green dropped 28 points and they still lost by double digits. So I don't know, man. That offense doesn't seem like it's going to be as good as a lot of people think. LeBron James 7 for 19, 1 for 5 from 3, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Also had 5 turnovers. So if LeBron has 5 turnovers, shoots 7 for 19, that team's going to struggle. Anthony Davis wasn't super efficient, but Danny Green was 10 for 14, 7 for 9 from 3. You're probably not going to get the same performance out of him. Avery Bradley was 3 for 7, 2 for 5 from 3. Probably not going to get anything better out of him. Their bench is not good whatsoever. They have nobody that can consistently create their own shot. Contavious Caldwell-Pope had 0 points in 27 minutes. Dwight Howard 3 points in 19 minutes. Jared Dudley, not a good bench player. Troy Daniels, Quinn Cook. This team isn't set up to succeed. I guess Kyle Kuzma would be that third guy that can create his own shot, but he's not super efficient, and he's not a good shooter, so he's not going to help with their spacing, which was a bit of a problem last night. So the Lakers didn't impress me all that much. I think they're definitely overhyped. You can tell LeBron is getting older. Yeah, he looked a little... He didn't quite look as athletic as he's been in the past. Nikos Kotokris, when Mo was with us, he was frustrated when he was starting from the bench. Yeah, but if he's... That's because he was already entrenched as a starter and then getting moved to the bench. That's a little different than coming in and coming off the bench for a new team right away. He's also playing for a phenomenal team, probably the best team in the NBA, so I think it's a bit different. I'm also reading comments here if you guys don't know, so it doesn't lag my computer. Tommy Thompson, I don't think Lakers are going to really improve their roster. No assets, no picks. That's the thing. People are talking about possible trades for the Los Angeles Lakers. Laker fans love their hypothetical trades. They love putting other people's players in their uniform on Photoshop. But they don't have assets. They don't have the means to make a big move. I think this is the team that you're going to get throughout the season. They're going to have to learn how to win with this roster. Do I think Blazers are worse? No, I do not think the Blazers are worse whatsoever. I think there's a lot of, you have the national media guys that don't pay attention to us because we're on the West Coast and they don't watch West Coast games. You have a lot of people that just disrespect us. We're slept on year in, year out. This roster is definitely a lot better than the roster that made the Western Conference Finals. Also, you have to think about this too. Aminu and Harkless were basically non-factors for most of the playoff run. And then Enes Kanter was not the right center to have with our guard unit as a guy who can't defend the rim, can't defend pick and roll. So now we fixed the center spot. We got a guy who fits better because he can play defense. He can defend the rim at an elite level. He can guard pick and roll. But then also we got our better forwards, Rodney Hood, Zach Collins. We got them into the starting lineup. Those are the forwards that helped us to our Western Conference Finals run. I like our bench. Our bench might struggle in the half court, but we got guys that can create their own shot, create shots for others. So the makeup of our team I like a lot better than last season. There's no player on this team that I really can't stand. I couldn't stand Evan Turner. We have no players that I feel like would be a horrible person to have out there. Skal Labissiere has apparently been the MVP of training camp, so we'll see if he can make that translate to game action because he didn't look all that impressive in the preseason to me. Alex R. Hot take. After Lakers flop this year, Dame will be universally considered the best player of his draft class. He should already be up there in the running. I think AD is a little bit overrated. AD is the more ideal player. He's like an athletic, skilled 4-5 man who can defend the rim, but Dame wins. AD hasn't won. AD's won one series, and I know that was against Dame, but Dame's won what? Dame's won 4 series in his career. as the leader. AD had to jump ship from New Orleans. He couldn't even consistently make the playoffs. Even though Dame had some rosters that weren't all that good, he was still able to make it to the playoffs. So Dame should already be up there in that conversation. I'm not going to say Dame's better, but he should be up there. M Sotolo 503, appreciate you doing these live. Yeah, these will be more consistent at 3 p.m. live in the future. I'm really excited to get this podcast going consistently. I'm really excited to do some pregame live streams this year as part of this podcast. So I'm glad that you like them live. Nikos Kodakris, man, I just saw free agents of next offseason, and the best one was Brandon Ingram. 2020 free agency will be eligible to make moves, but nothing good will be on the table. There's some better options than Brandon Ingram, but the most cap space we'll have is $20 million, and that means letting Hassan Whiteside go, or whoever we trade him for. That means letting Rodney Hood go. That means letting Kent Bazemore go, and I just don't think that's worth it. I'd rather just say, I'd rather not worry about cap space and keep those guys and then use our $10 million mid-level exception, because there's a good chance we could be under the luxury tax next season and be able to use that full mid-level exception of $10 million instead of getting rid of everybody and trying to find replacements with $20 million. Do I see Whiteside defending Jokic well? It's going to be interesting because Jokic can get out in space, but Jokic is a slow big man and likes to kind of bully his way into the paint, and Hassan Whiteside is one guy you definitely can't bully. So Whiteside will struggle getting out to the three-point line to take away that jumper. Whiteside will struggle if Jokic starts to drive and runs that inverted pick and roll where he has Jamal Murray setting the on-ball screen. But his length is going to be a factor. Jokic likes to set up shop at the top of the key and pass over the top and pass around the guy guarding him. Whiteside is so lanky that that's going to be harder. And then Whiteside around the rim, I think, will do a good job. Old Jacob House says, I really like Whiteside, but I'm hoping he will get rid of his lazy posture on the floor. I'm sure it won't be a problem, though. His lazy posture is... People are making way too much about this. He's a big, heavy-footed, slow big man. He's not going to look all that energetic. That's just the way he is. People are talking about lazy posture, but in those same games where people think he's being lazy, he's still rotating to the right spot in help side defense. He's still not forcing anything offensively. He's still playing a good game. It's just people can't get over the way he looks. I'm going to look at if he's productive, if he helps the team win. I'm not going to worry about what his posture looks like, because just listening to this guy talk during training camp interviews, I know this dude's bought in. I know this dude wants to win. He wants to be here. So I'm not going to worry about his posture. I'm just going to be worrying about, is he helping this team win? Is he the right guy to have out there on the floor? And I think he will be to start this season, even though it's going to take some time for him to adjust to a new offense, possibly some new responsibilities at the center spot. I think Whiteside will be fine. Do I think Scal gets minutes to start the season? Yes, I do. I think he'll be the backup center, because right now we don't have Pau Gasol. So we have to play a backup center. Tolliver's undersized, Tizonia's undersized, Scalabissiere is big enough to play backup center. Apparently he's been the MVP of training camp, the MVP of practices during the preseason. So just based off that, I don't see there being any way that he doesn't play the backup center role tonight. If Whiteside gets into foul trouble, then I expect Scalabissiere to play actually like 20-25 minutes if Whiteside ends up dealing with some foul issues. Is there any chance to land Giannis? No. We wouldn't have enough cap space. He wouldn't come here. Blazers or Denver tonight? Which one are you taking to win? I mean, I'm not going to pick against Portland. I'm not going to do it. Especially on opening night with their history of 18 straight home opening wins. So, Blazers, I got the Blazers. Do you think it will take like 10 to 20 games before we are at our best? Yes, but that's the case for every Western Conference team that made big changes this season, and that's a lot of different teams. It's going to take a lot of time for some of these teams to learn how to play with each other. Some of them might not ever figure it out. You look at Houston, you look at Westbrook, you look at Harden. Those guys might never figure out how to play with each other. Once we get Eric in here, we'll do some. We'll pick games for tonight, and then we'll talk about some of the keys for tonight, and then we'll wrap this up. I gotta go finish editing the mailbag. I want to have that out before the game. I was trying to figure out how I wanted to structure the daily scoop type thing. Me and Courtside Reports were on a little bit of a different page with that, so that's why I didn't drop that today. I also edited a bit of it, and then my editing software crashed, so I lost it. So that's what was happening this morning. That was frustrating. Um, how do I think Anthony will do tonight? I have no idea. He's kind of a wild card from game to game. He's a guy who might not produce anything, or he's a guy that might drop 20. He's going to be a volatile player in terms of his production, so predicting it is very tough for me. What are your playoff predictions for the Blazers? We could lose in the first round because there's going to be 7 really good teams in the playoffs. We could make the NBA Finals. It's a wide open Western Conference playoffs. The only team that I can't see losing in the first round is the Clippers, but they also might be without Paul George or Kawhi Leonard by the time the playoffs roll around, because those guys have an injury history that might repeat itself. So it's hard to predict playoffs right now. Maybe once we're 20 games into the season, I might have a better feel for what I think the Blazers might do in the playoffs. Also, we might have a different roster by the time the playoffs roll around, because I expect us to make a move at the deadline. We might have Blake Griffin, we might have Kevin Love, we might have Otto Porter Jr., we might have Robert Covington, we might have a lot of different guys. Thanks for making this podcast, my guy. Appreciate your support, man. Appreciate all your guys' support. Do I think Portland will finish top 4 in the West? I just dropped my Western Conference standings predictions. I had them third, but they were bunched up with a bunch of other teams. I think Golden State was 7th with 48 wins, and I think I had the Blazers with 52, and they were third. So there was a lot of teams all bunched up through there. Western Conference playoffs will be a bloodbath, and the best team might not end up in the finals. That's 100% correct. The best team might have a player injured. The best team might struggle for a game or two, and that might be the difference in a series. So it's very hard to predict. It's not like the past few years where you had an obvious Western Conference winner in Golden State. Do I think Zach Collins might be used as an asset in a trade? I think he's a guy who's going to be untouchable. Even if we want to make a move for Blake Griffin, I think Zach Collins makes so much sense as the third big off the bench, because he can play with Nurkic once Nurk comes back, and he can also play with Blake Griffin. So I don't think he's going to be a trade asset that the Portland Trail Blazers actually move. People seem super sure Powell is going to come back and play well. Do you think he will live up to that? I'm not saying he won't. I just don't have a good feel for him right now. I think Powell will be fine. He's just so skilled that he's going to be able to get by off his skill. He can see the floor. He can make passes. He can hit jump shots. He can hit a hook shot inside. He knows where to be defensively. Just based off that, he doesn't need athleticism if he's able to do all that stuff just by being a smart basketball player and by being a skilled basketball player. I think he's still skilled. I think once he's healthy, he'll be possibly a little better than last year, because he was dealing with nagging injuries last year, and he was also had a move to a new team. He went to Milwaukee and never really got ingrained there. So I think he'll be fine. I think this system fits him really, really well. You look at the type of passing that was available to Mason Plumlee and then was available to Yusuf Nurkic. Pau Gasol is going to be able to throw all those same passes, be used in that same role with that bench unit with some athletic wing talent around him and some scorers around him. And he'll be able to make the best use out of it and be that high post passer that Nurkic is. Hernico 7, besides the Blazers, who's your pick to win it all at this moment? Milwaukee or the Clippers? Milwaukee has a better chance of making the NBA Finals because they play in the Eastern Conference, which obviously doesn't have the same depth. But I think the Clippers are a better team. I think if the Clippers were to make it to the NBA Finals, I think they'd beat Philadelphia or Milwaukee, who are pretty much the only two candidates to make it out of the East. Percentage chance Whiteside is gone at the deadline. I give it a 65 to 75% chance. Whiteside and Dame pick and roll will be fine. Still waiting on Eric to get in here too. Because Eric said 3:30 to 3:45. It's 3:45. Podcast even started a little bit late for him. Oh, the other thing. Salt Lake City hosting 2023 All-Star Game. Portland has yet to host an All-Star Game. I would love for Portland to host an All-Star Game. For whatever reason, we can't get it. It's been hotels in the past, but I think we've kind of fixed that issue, so I don't know why we aren't the first team on deck. It's kind of frustrating that we're not able to land an All-Star Game. I'm going to text Eric really quick. Eric really meant 4 p.m. Yeah, he's chasing his kids around. What's up, Marco? Who has the better game tonight, CJ or Dame? CJ owned Denver in the second round of the playoffs last season, so I'm guessing CJ. Denver has the type of players to get out and really pressure the pick and roll for Dame, so I think Dame might find it tough to get going like he normally does, so I think CJ is the guy to watch tonight. Or, honestly, Rodney Hood. If they play Jamal Murray on him, Rodney Hood's going to be a guy who's going to have a good game, in my opinion. So, Rodney Hood, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, they could all go off, but if I had to pick, it'd be CJ. I'm in Eastern time zone, so the game will get over around 1 a.m. here. Is it worth it even though I have early school and early practice tomorrow? Take a nap. Right after this podcast wraps up, take like a 2.5 hour nap. Wake up, catch the game, then sleep after the game. You'll get your 8 hours. You'll be able to watch the game. That'd be my plan for you. Do I think the Nuggets are overrated? I think they slightly might be. I think they might have overachieved last season. I talked about it a bit in my Western Conference standings predictions. I talked about how they overachieved, in my opinion, but they did get better. They're young. They added Jeremy Grant, who's a great pickup, and they won 54 games last season. So I had them as a 52-win team, the same as the Blazers. I had them winning the tiebreaker, though. I don't know. I just had them second to seem less biased. I had Denver second, Blazers third, but it could be any order. Blazers games are too late. That's why you live on the West Coast. I have a feeling Mario will go off tonight. I don't think Mario will go off tonight because he's going to most likely be guarded by Jeremy Grant, who's a really good defender. Uh, it's going to be, I don't know. I feel like Mario's going to have a tough game. I'm hoping he has a Stauskas-like game for opening night. Stauskas last season dropped that 24 on the Lakers. So I hope Hazonia does really well like that, but I don't think he's going to do too well. Alex R., how did they get Grant? Denver traded their 2020 first-round pick for Jeremy Grant. They were over the salary cap, but they had a trade exception, so they were able to absorb Jeremy Grant's salary without sending any salary back. And they traded a pick that's probably going to be like between 24 and 30, which is a great value for a guy like that who can play both sides of the court, hit threes, defend, athletic. He fits in with what they do really well. He's going to be a guy who's going to be tough to deal with in the postseason. I feel like the postseason is when hustle guys and guys like that really shine because the game is more energetic. Do I think Blazers will make the finals? Hopefully. You live in Oklahoma? Oklahoma. What time is it in Oklahoma? It's either 4:51 or 5:51. So Blazer games end at midnight. That's not terrible. It's not as bad as being on the East Coast. Especially if it's only an hour ahead. Did my opinion of Mario change over the preseason? A little bit. He seems like it. I don't know. I had questions about him being able to run a point forward role because it was just such a small sample size at the end of last season. He's shown me that he does have the ability to handle that role, at least in transition. He looks good in transition. Still have questions about him being able to shoot the ball consistently. I still have questions about him being able to create in the half court for himself and others. So I still need to see more of Hazonia. I need to see him exceed in the half court. But in transition, I think he'll be a good player. Jeremy Grant from Portland, too. Is he? Are you sure about that? Because he has a brother named Jerry, and I thought Jarian wasn't from Portland. Blazer games end at 6 in the morning. You hate living in Norway. That's tough, man. That's when you take a nap and then wake up, watch a game. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to work around that. But shout out to all you guys who are across the world watching this. We got Nikos Kodakris. I believe he's from Greece. I don't know if he's still in here, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Jakob or is it Jacob? I assume it's Jakob. I want to say your name right. He's all the way up in Norway. We got people in Australia. Why does the national media always sleep on us? Because we're in the corner of the nation. We're on the West Coast. If this roster was a Los Angeles Laker roster, if the Lakers had our roster and made the Western Conference the year before, the Western Conference Finals, then the media would be picking them as the favorite to go to the NBA Finals. But since we're in Portland, we don't get the same respect. Grant is from Portland. I mean, it doesn't sound wrong. He has a brother named Jerry Grant, who I don't believe is from Portland. So I don't know how that would work out. 4OT game on the East Coast, big yikes. Yeah. Backspace deleted. Sup, love your content. Watching from Omaha, Nebraska. What's up, man? Stayed up till 4 a.m. for the 4OT game and 2:30 for game 5. That's crazy. I'm still waiting on my man Eric. He didn't text me back. He's not calling me on Skype. We might not get Eric in here. But yeah, I want to pick games based on the spread that Vegas gives them, and then have me and Eric have a running total. We'll just pick games on days where our podcast goes live, so it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we'll have like running record all season long. So it'll be interesting to see who does better. It's just a fun little thing. It's not going to be betting advice or anything. I don't want to like interfere with what True Blazer Fan is doing because they're doing some sort of, they're working with Pinwheel Empire on doing some sort of like head-to-head like betting thing. And when I saw that, it was kind of like crap because it's something that I had planned for this season. So make sure to go check them out. I mean, that's where I got my start. They're doing like, he's doing top 10 game highlights, I believe, and then he's doing like some betting stuff. So it's a little different. It's a little bit more specialized because other channels do full game highlights and stuff like that. So that's why he's kind of moving off that, going into top 10 Blazer plays. If Eric's not in here at 4, we're going to get into like keys to the game. Because I'm just killing time for Eric. Eric's busy. Alright, this might lag. I'm going to call Eric. It's not going to be his webcam or anything. I guess he's only on his phone. Yeah, probably not going to work for Eric. He didn't, I don't believe he told me he was only on his phone. So alrighty, well that sucks. I thought it was going to be on his computer. Is there any blackouts for the game tonight? If you're watching on League Pass and you're in the Portland area, a League Pass won't work for Blazer games. League Pass doesn't work for games that are being televised in your region. It also doesn't work for games that are being nationally televised, which this Portland game is being nationally televised. So it's if you don't got ESPN or TNT, I don't remember which one it's on, or if you don't have NBC Sports Northwest, there's probably no way to catch the game. So that's kind of the situation. If you're out of town and the game isn't being nationally televised, then you can watch on League Pass. Tommy Thompson, no, there's no way Harden would be on the trade block. They would get rid of Westbrook far quicker than Harden. I'm texting. Texting my man. Alright. What's my opinion of Scal? Apparently he's looked great during training camp. I need to see it in actual games though. Thing is, I know a decent like stream, but it's not exactly and not the most legal thing in the world, so I'm not gonna shout out anything or get myself into trouble. So Reddit got killed for that though. I got PlayStation View. That's how I catch my games. All right, so we'll probably hold off on doing like our spread picks. Um, Eric wasn't the one who scheduled his kids' doctor's appointments. That's what he's doing right now. He's taking care of them. He wasn't the one who scheduled them, obviously, because I know he wants to be here. He wants to be on this pregame podcast. So we're gonna hold off just because he's not gonna pick, because he's sitting in a waiting room right now, I guess. So we'll do that on what's today? Wednesday. We'll do that on Friday. We'll start picking games, and we'll keep like a running tally going. Might have to make like a little side bet on that for the end of the season. Whoever does better, something small with him. League Pass doesn't show nationally televised games. The Blazers game is nationally televised for a top cat guy. The pros for living in Norway, nobody cares about somebody watching an NBA stream. That's true. What game should I watch right now? Bulls vs. Hornets, Pistons vs. Pacers, or Cavs vs. Magic? Pistons don't have Blake Griffin. Pacers don't have Victor Oladipo, or else I'd say that game. Cavs vs. Magic is actually interesting because I want to see Darius Garland play. Magic have Aminu. Bulls vs. Hornets could be a really good game to watch too. Hornets are a young team. It'll be interesting to see if Terry Rozier plays well. PJ Washington could be one of the top 5 rookies this year, and he's a guy that nobody is really talking about. Hornets have a guy who I played against on a 2-way contract, a guy from my hometown, guy from Vancouver, but he probably won't get in the game. But the Bulls have a really young team. Kobe White's interesting. Denzel Valentine is back after not playing last year. So all those games are good ideas, good games to watch. If you have League Pass, I just switch back and forth. Commercial comes on, different game. Gonna go watch Chief. Yeah, go watch my man Chief, man. Gonna miss Chief a little bit. I think he got a lot of unfair hate last year. Why does this game feel like a preseason game? What do you mean? Yeah, Oladipo's out. Griffin's out. So that's not the same game as before. It'll be interesting to see how Brogdon does. I got Brogdon on my fantasy team, so I'm hoping he goes off. Kings on Friday? I don't even know the schedule. Once we get into the season, I'll kind of like know the schedule ahead, but things have been kind of crazy on mine. So Derrick Rose is in Detroit yet. Derrick Rose, Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard. That's their 3-guard lineup. They got Bruce Brown in there too. Did I see how Mo played last night? Yeah, Mo played well. A lot of Blazer fans are like freaking out about how well Mo played, but he had games like this all the time for the Blazers. It just always coincided with him absolutely disappearing. He was always a mixed bag, so he's going to have good games like this. Doesn't mean that it was a bad trade. So anyway, I'm going to go into my keys for the game tonight, and then I'm going to wrap up this podcast. I'm going to wrap up this pregame show. Keys for tonight, first, is to slow down Jokic. Hassan Whiteside's going to have a lot of defensive responsibility. You can't let Jokic get going. You can't let him get loose from 3. He's kind of a streaky shooter, so you can't let him get hot from there. Also have to pressure up on him. Whiteside needs to use his length to try and take away some of those passing lanes that Jokic normally has. Jamal Murray is another guy to key in on defensively because he's a guy who hurts us a lot. We can't let Jamal Murray get going like he has in the past against us because he's kind of like the X factor through their offense because they got Jokic. Jokic is great as a distributor, as a scorer. But Murray is a lethal perimeter scorer at the point guard spot once he gets going. You just can't let him get going. Collins versus Millsap is going to be interesting to watch to see if Collins can hold his own, cannot get bullied. Collins has some weight, so we'll see if he can hold his ground with Millsap a little bit more. During the playoffs last season, Millsap kind of backed down Collins and was able to score pretty easily inside, so we'll see if Collins can hold his ground a little bit more. And then if they play Jamal Murray on Rodney Hood, we got to take advantage of that matchup early and often. We did it in the playoffs last season. What they like to do is they like to take that small forward, they like to take Torrey Craig and play him on Damian Lillard. That means that one of those guards has to guard the small forward. So that would result in Jamal Murray guarding Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood can punish that matchup. He has shooters around him, so he'll have space to punish that matchup. And that's what he's going to need to do. Dame, it'll be interesting to see how he comes out of the gates, but I'm hoping that he can kind of extend the defense out, maybe hit one of those 30-foot threes, get them playing up on the pick and roll, so that he can get downhill, get by the defense on the pick and roll to be able to get into the lane and make things happen from there. Then you have that bench unit. They're going to have to run. They're going to need to turn defense into offense. That bench unit is going to struggle if they have to play in the half court. So they're going to have to try and create opportunities to run. If they don't, then I can see that bench unit struggling. Scal's going to be interesting. He's going to be the backup center most likely tonight. So if he can hit a couple threes, that might help out their half-court offense with spacing, with a big man that can bring the center out of the paint defensively. So those are kind of my keys for tonight. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if you have a key that I didn't mention. Say it again. The Thunder are looking to trade Chris Paul and Gallinari. I don't know if that's been covered yet. I've talked about it multiple times on like my trade podcast on our Western Conference preview podcast, which dropped a couple weeks ago. I've talked about it a lot. Kind of moving past the like trade stuff a bit. I'll still mention it. I'll still make video titles based around it because that seems to get the most clicks on it. But in terms of talking about it like on live streams and stuff, like it's opening night for most of the NBA, so I'm not focused on who the Thunder might trade or anything like that. Who do I think is a six-man? I mean, it's a committee. It's a committee. There doesn't have to be like a certain sixth man. The Clippers have two sixth men. They got Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, who are two of the best five players off the bench in the entire NBA. Maybe the top two. Bazemore and Simons, if they both play well, they both play well. They both could be considered a sixth man. The leader of the bench unit might be a better term, and I think that's going to be Ken Bazemore, because he can facilitate, he can defend, he can score, so he can kind of do it all, and he's a veteran presence, so he's kind of hoping they stagger him like they did in the past. Luke Kennard is a sleeper. Yeah, he's going to have a big year. He's going to shoot more. That's the thing. He's always been efficient, but he's never shot enough. So that's something that they've talked about him doing more this season, is shooting more shots, getting more shots up, and trying to remain as efficient as he's been earlier in his career. He's a guy who could have a chance at winning Most Improved, because he's a guy I can see averaging like 15 to 17 points per game. And that would be like a Siakam-like jump in terms of scoring average per game. I think our weakness is to go over the screen on defense. Yeah, our weakness is that we don't switch up our defensive pick and roll coverages. If we win tonight, what does that tell us about the team in general? I know it's early in the season and teams won't be 100%, so I guess we cannot be too excited even if we win. If we win tonight, it tells us nothing definitively. It'll be a nice win to get. It'll be a huge win to get. It's the difference of 2 games at the end of the season. If we lose this game, there's a chance, Denver wins 54 games and we win 52. We'd be 2 games behind, maybe without the tiebreaker, even if we were able to tie it. But if we are able to win tonight, that would make us both 53-win teams instead, and would give us a better chance at having the tiebreaker. So in terms of end of the season stuff, like, this game matters a lot. Every game against a divisional opponent and every game against a Western Conference contender matters a lot this season because of how bunched up teams are. So a couple of games are going to decide, they're going to decide, like, seeding. Because you think about it, it's not only is it a win for us, it's a loss for Denver, and a loss for Denver is important. So every Western Conference game like this is going to matter. $18 home openers in a row. Yeah, we've won 18 in a row. Hopefully we can make that 19. WTF Maine says, Tori, what's good? What's up, man? I'm about to wrap up this podcast. I'm getting near the end of it. Shout out to Russell, first round of Westbrook, for the $2 donation. Have fun watching the game tonight. I'm going to head out. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate all your support and how engaged you are with the community. I appreciate all you guys tuning in for this. Pat Beverly fined $25,000 for throwing ball into the stands against the Lakers. It's a Pat Beverly thing to do. So, alrighty, that wraps up this pregame live stream. That wraps up this Uprise podcast. A little bit shorter. I'm going to go try and edit that mailbag. Hopefully have that up before the game. If that's up, then you guys can watch it before. If not, watch it after. I'm not really talking about the first game or anything. None of the questions were really about that. I also had a ton of questions, which is why it isn't out yet. So I try to cut it down to 20 minutes, but it's a lot of work. So yeah, I don't know. That might be a good halftime video for you guys because it's going to be 15 to 20 minutes. So that might be a great video to tune in at halftime. Also, if you want to keep track with what I think during the game, make sure to follow my Twitter because I'll be live tweeting during the game. I tweet a lot during the game. It's at ToryJonesYT, so make sure to check it out. I know there's probably some people on here with a Twitter that don't follow me, so I'd appreciate a follow. We're approaching 400, so anyway, hope you guys enjoy your night. Hopefully the game goes well. Hopefully you end the night happy. I'll be back after the game, post-game live stream. Looking forward to that. First post-game live stream of the regular season. So hopefully I'll be in a good mood. We'll see, though. Anyway, that's it for me. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. Go Blazers.